What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. That's right, the only sports podcast. I'm Dumpy number one. That's Dumpy number
Dumpy
two.
number
over
two.
there. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. And Casino, we're going to start today with my new favorite song, maybe in the history of songs.
But you didn't ask how I was doing.
Because I'm mad at you for opinions you will showcase later in this show that yeah. But we're gonna listen to my new favorite song. So
I'm the Jackie Robinson of the NFL.
Philadelphia Eagles select Cooper DeJean, DB, Iowa. Let's go.
I'm the Jackie Robinson of the NFL.
Don't you want some white cornerback? Where they at?
Cooper DeJean is not a safety. He's just a corner who'll lock down your number one. DeJean is CB1. Said his wide ass can run. DeJean is CB1. Let me guess. Quicker than fast, sneaky athletic, let that white boy play corner.
So good that white people can't even do it, Trent. That's how you know it's the hardest position. They don't even let white guys try to play quarterback anymore. Like they just said, you're done.
Cooper DeJean is not a safety. He's just a corner who'll lock down your number one.
just great stuff. Just great stuff. I needed to start with that, Casino, because we're throwing all format out of the window. We're talking Eagles Ravens for right off the bat. I mean, what are we doing here? It was the biggest game of the weekend, the marquee game of the weekend. We have the format down, and we're skipping it to jump into this game first, Casino, because
Okay.
also, I don't know if you watched the game. I don't know if you saw the game. Maybe I don't know, maybe you saw this hit right here by that same Cooper DeJean.
3rd and 11. Nothing to work with there.
I did see it. I
That's
did see
Derrick
it.
Henry right there. I
Yeah,
don't know if you heard about Derrick Henry or not, but
Dude, I heard. You're the worst. You're the worst.
Driven
I saw that.
into the-
I saw that hit. It was an amazing hit. He lifted him up off the ground. You gonna let me talk? Or are you just gonna keep doing
I
that?
can't stop it. Okay, there we go. But
Jesus.
yeah, I mean, what are we doing here? What like let's talk about this game, Casino.
Yeah, you got it,
Because
Homer. You got it, Homer. Freaking Homer Simpson over here. Yes,
everybody
okay.
knows that.
Okay, you are a diehard Eagles fan. I get it.
Yeah.
And they're a great team. They're an outstanding team.
Oh, I've
They're better than great team. But
Yeah.
there's also two teams that are right there with them. Okay? So let's talk about this game first. Do you understand that? Well, we'll talk about this game. I will let you start so I could talk to my daughter here. She's got yogurt everywhere.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I have yogurt all over here myself, but it's not yogurt, if you know what I mean. Because I said it last week. I was a week early to the party where I put the Eagles as my number one team in the power ranking. Casino said I was crazy. He still thinks I'm crazy. This is the best Eagles team I've ever seen in my lifetime, and I think maybe has ever existed. Okay, because I've seen, I've read about the Randall Cunningham games or teams in the past, the Buddy Ryan teams of the past, the Dick Vermeil teams of the past. I've seen the videos, I've watched the documentaries, obviously the Andy Reid McNabb era is when I come in. The Nick Sirianni era, he's had some good teams, a team good enough to go to the Super Bowl, but the fatal flaw of that team was their schedule sucked and they played no defense, right? I think you can go back and listen to those episodes where up to that Super Bowl, I was always concerned about the defense, how well they played, the rankings. They were always bottom 5 in basically everything defensively. That is not the case with this Eagles team. With this Eagles team, they are still, after playing the number one historic, on pace to be historic Ravens offense, they are still the number one defense in the league and have only allowed 23 touchdowns. Lions, I believe, are the Lions and Chargers have allowed 20. Everybody else has allowed 23 or more. So I think there's only 5 teams that have allowed less, like 23 or less. And Eagles are one of them. They're the number one total defense in yards allowed, touchdowns are top 5. They're basically top 5 in every category when it comes to the defense. Passing defense, they're 3rd in the league. And running defense, they are 7th in the league. Again, after keeping, I mean, you just saw it. Cooper DeJean tackled Derrick Henry in the open field, which never happens. I've watched that clip 900 million times. But my case for the Eagles being the best team this year, the best team I've ever seen of an Eagles team, as we've said before, is they, for once in their franchise history, outside of maybe Reggie White, outside of maybe T.O. the 1 year he was in Philadelphia, they have the best player at a specific position on their team playing his best. Saquon Barkley is at his peak right now, and he's the best running back in the league. In this game, he showed it. Because his only competition was Derrick Henry, who Derrick Henry didn't have a bad game, 19 carries, 82 yards. But then Saquon had 23 carries, 107 yards, and 1 touchdown. They basically average the same amount of rushing yards per attempt.
against that number one rushing defense, you know. So
Exactly.
I get everything you're saying, and I agree with you with the Saquon Barkley being the best running back, bar none. Like, outstanding running back. But again, this is a team sport, man. So this is a team sport. So just because Saquon's having the best year of his career by far, and he's up there and arguably the MVP, and I'll get to that, when we do our other segment, because I was fully on Josh Allen. And even though Josh Allen had a great game, Barkley doing against that run defense was just phenomenal. So this is the reason why I know that you have the Eagles as the best team in the league, and I still have them. You'll see our power rankings, little update for that. I have them still at 3. Reason being is the Lions are 10-1, and they just have not lost. So it's that same kind of scenario with what the Chiefs were, for the whole part of the season, where I couldn't put anybody above the Chiefs because they just weren't losing. That's where I'm at with the Lions, because both the Eagles and the Lions and even the Bills had their early season losses. And as they've gone further in, they're all just juggernauts right now. So until a team slips, I can't change it up.
That's interesting. But
okay, and then I'm going to continue with the Bills. Same scenario, and not a lot of players, not a lot of teams can do what the Bills do in snow games. So I know that you're saying, oh, they don't, that's a 1 game off. I get that. But until the other 2 teams slip, I have to keep everybody where they're at, even though all 3 of those teams are just absolute juggernauts that I don't think the Chiefs could even come close to beating any one of those 3 teams. No. I have to keep them in their line of where they were up to this point. That's my reasoning where the Eagles are I have them at my 3. I know you have them at 1. I'm leaving them there.
We don't know that yet. You don't know my power rankings.
Well, fair enough.
But
you just said it, the best team in the league. So that's where I'm leaving it until those other teams slip. So I'll tell you right now, Lions and Bills will play each other, right?
Yes.
One of those teams will lose. I guarantee you, unless the Eagles lose, the Eagles will jump one of those 2 teams. That's how it's going to work. That's how it's going to work for me.
Well, also, why is this not working? There we go. When we look at I sent this to you.
I don't care about the comparison.
So when we look at the comparison,
it's a team game, man.
Yeah, but your whole argument is, well, if they play in snow, like they're not going to play in snow.
That's not my whole argument. My whole argument, that was a piece. My whole argument is both these teams in a whole, along with the Lions, so make that 3, are playing top tier football, and where I had them ranked was Lions, Bills, Eagles. The Eagles weren't even in my top 10 at one point, but they've moved all the way up. They moved all the way because they figured it out. They clicked, and now it's a 3-way jam at the top, and I'm going to keep them where they were lined up before they all three became unbeatable teams.
But see, so we do the power rankings each week, and it's based on the last week of football we just saw. Okay, that's correct, right? That's why we do it weekly.
I have it. I place my power rankings on where they are as a team for the season,
Then
not
why?
the last week. Because if it goes by week basis, I mean, hell, the Broncos
That's
would be
how I
number
do
one
it.
right now.
No, they wouldn't, because what's the most impressive victory? The Bills beating the 49ers, the Chiefs beating the Raiders, the Eagles beating the Ravens, or the Lions beating the Bears.
Well,
what is the most impressive victory of this past
It's
week?
the Eagles beating the Ravens. You're right.
Thank you.
Okay, but I'm being dramatic when I say the Broncos. But what I'm getting at is our power rankings would look totally different if you did it off a week-to-week basis.
That's
If you
what I
did it
do
after-
it off of.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
it's
I never
week to
do it
week.
off a week basis. I go off of how the team looks in a whole. For power rankings are meant to be for that team for the season. You know, where are they now? Like, what are they now? Kind of situation. I mean, that's how power rankings work. That's how they set up the top 25 in college football. That's how they set up, you know, the power rankings in NFL. That's how it's always been, is where that team is currently for the season at that point. It has nothing to do. They move back and forth from the previous week, but that doesn't change where they are, because I mean, that blowout loss, that loss that the Ravens had, you know, a while back against the Broncos, the Ravens shouldn't even been in our power rankings if you're going to go off a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, but based off week-to-week rankings, the Ravens have started falling down our power rankings because of what they've done over the season. The Eagles,
exactly. What they're doing over
Okay.
the season, they keep moving down, and that's why I keep
Exactly.
notching them. That's
and
why I
the
keep notching them.
Eagles are on an 8-game winning streak with more impressive wins against teams than the Bills
And
or
that's
Lions.
why they were not in my power rankings, and now they're sitting number 3 in my power rankings.
Whoa, spoiler.
I told you. I'm already told you what spoilers are. Yes, because I get that, but they've moved up. I just can't. As they've gotten better, there's 2 other teams that have done the same exact thing, done the same exact trajectory with both the Lions and the Bills. So how can I justify putting one juggernaut over 2 other juggernauts when they've had the same timeline trajectory of being badass? I can't. I just can't do that. You can, Homer. It's okay, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, Homer, just of the team that's 10-2 with the number 1 defense in the league, top 5 offense in the league. I mean, yeah, what a homer. What a homer. It is now
That's
time.
fine.
We're putting a pin in this because this is the Only Sports Podcast, Casino. Now we're on to our regularly scheduled program. And as always, on Tuesday, we do the Tuesday talking points. But first, how are we doing today, Casino?
Pretty good. I got my new indoor soccer gloves that came in. I start playing indoor soccer again. I play goalie. I started again tonight. It's been 4 years, so I'm wearing my get up for that. Really, really excited. I'm very excited to get back in net. I'm going to get my ass kicked, but luckily I have my Christmas party afterwards where I can go and get completely hammered. We're taking the wife's car. She can drive me home. It is what it is. Because I'm going to need it, because I guarantee you the only way I'm going to be able to make it into bed tonight is by a few drinks after my soccer game, because I'm going to be sore as hell.
Yeah. You're also going to be sore after this podcast. Also, Casino, as we're recording this, I just got a notification. Our things that we're using on Thursday just got delivered to our house. So special Thursday show coming up.
Can't wait. So excited.
See the new things we just got delivered.
All right. All right.
But
let's continue.
Let's move on to our Tuesday talking points, Casino. And we have a new intro for that, which is, it's so...
Oh, that hurts my eyeballs.
So crispy. Let me start it over, because you see it's mesmerizing because it's the Tuesday talking points. As always with the Tuesday
Take your Dramamine before looking at this. Jesus, Moses.
As with the Tuesday talking points, we count down from 5 to 1. And of course, after this college football, which was college football week 14, we have to start there. Rivalry weekend. And that pretty much sums it up, which is college football is chaos. And
it's absolutely chaos. I love it. I love it. This new college football format is just outstanding. It's made the whole
Yeah.
season interesting because everybody cares about every game now, which is great. Yeah, man. And so what you're alluding to with the chaos, let's start off with Ohio State and Michigan. Let's just start off the bat with that.
Yeah.
Talk about one of the biggest wins. I mean, probably bigger than the national championship game.
I
um,
mean, yeah,
damn close to it.
it
So
probably
Michigan,
it means as much. I would
yeah.
say
So
as much.
Michigan goes into Ohio State and they win a close one, in just an absolute bloodfest, which you think Michigan State and Ohio State would be. It's low scoring, but they were beating the hell out of each other if you watch this game. So Michigan ends up winning. Makes the fourth time in a row Michigan has beaten Ohio State, which puts Ryan Day in the hot seat, regardless of his great season so far. Yeah. But what happened was, in true Baker Mayfield fashion, you had one of the Michigan players go and put the flag in the middle of the Ohio State O in the midfield, and all hell broke loose in the best way for viewers. Not great for the student athletes and college football, but all hell broke loose. Big old fight. I mean, players were getting maced, and you saw them on the sideline. You had a couple of the Michigan players. I think a couple of the Ohio State players got maced as well. But you see the two Michigan guys like holding each other, just like, just like absolutely just wrecked from their mace. So my big talking point out of this game, so I just explained everything that happened. My big talking point is Ryan Day really made himself look bad. He wasn't doing jack shit during this brawl. He wasn't trying to get his players in control. He wasn't trying to do anything. He's just walking, meandering around, as some people called it, around the field, not paying attention to what he needs to be doing as a head coach. Looks really bad. I think he's going to be on his way out even after this loss. They could go on and win the national title, and I still think that people might want to get rid of him.
Yeah. And also Gus Johnson, like I think my most hated thing in sports is the self-righteous announcer. Like the announcer, like the textbook example of that is the Joe Buck on Monday Night Football, when it was Randy Moss like doing the fake moon celebration to the Packers, and he was like, "Oh my, what a disgusting act by," and it's just like he just mimed pulling his pants down and like mooning somebody. Like, pump the brakes, calm down.
I mean,
like,
that's Joe Buck though.
Like, yeah,
that's Joe Buck. He's always
announcer.
Yeah, but he's a sports. He does every single sport imaginable, and he's just doing it for clout. It was his thing.
But Gus Johnson in this game just being like, "Oh man, Michigan didn't cheat this time. Oh my God, there's a brawl. Oh my, you can't do like, oh my God, you can't put your flag." It's like, shut up, Gus Johnson. Like, you're just like this self-righteous like douchebag who, again, I'm not in Michigan State, or
I love that there's so much going on in Michigan, Ohio, and yet you're mad at Gus for this.
Well, because he encapsulated the whole thing, which it was just like, it's the rivalry. It's like, first off, the planting the flag on your opponent's thing. If you're mad about that, how about you win the game? So
yeah,
they
and you know
can't
what?
do that.
And we'll
How about you do that?
We'll talk more about it, but that wasn't the only team to plant a flag or plant something in the middle of the field this week.
Fine with it. If you don't want your flag, if you don't want something planted on your field, win the game so they can't do that.
Yeah.
Like you're the number 2 team in the nation playing against a Michigan team that's 6-5. Like, they should have planted all their flags on the field, especially because you lost 4 years in a row to them.
Yeah, we also had that with the I mean, we had multiple other brawls, but planting the flag, we also had that in the Florida State game, and then we also had that in, which I loved, was the ASU Arizona game. They did it with the trident, which was hysterical.
Again,
and I was actually worried at that point because like, that's a fucking trident, and they're arguing back and forth with a trident in the middle of the field. I'm like, somebody's about to get fucking stabbed. Like, Jesus. It was not
Again,
pretty.
I'm pro flag sticking because you only get the flag stuck on your field if you win in somebody else's house. The way to prevent that is win in your own house.
Oh yeah.
Like, pretty simple concept.
Yeah. Do you think Baker Mayfield was just sitting at home watching all like 6 games that had like fights in them that he was just like, this is great. This
Well,
is absolutely great.
I saw they asked him at the podium, and he was basically just kind of like, I mean, whatever. And which is again, that should be the response. Like, you don't want it to happen to you, win on it. But also,
Yeah.
Casino, this
Sorry.
is the perfect time to bring up the thing you sent me, which I think perfectly encapsulates what not only this meant, but what this upcoming weekend means.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, to make the college football playoffs. So can you go through this so I can go get that package real quick?
Yeah, no worries. So essentially what you have is you have the locks, you know, even with the championships coming up for every conference, even if they lose, you have the guarantee. Oh, of course he does that and he moves it. Nope, you're fine. I got it on my phone. Anyway, so the chances to make the college football playoffs, that's what we're looking at here. So even with the conference losses, if they go into their Mountain West, I'm already thinking my team, go into their conference finals and they lose, they're still going to get into the college football playoffs. So you have the Oregon Ducks, you have the Texas, because they just beat their rival with the really chippy game as well, with Texas A&M. People getting their heads flipped around, holding a face mask penalties, which was fun, but nobody got penalized. Watch that. Notre Dame's going to be in. We got Tennessee, who I know BJ is saying is one of, if not the best team in the league right now, just with how they're playing so fierce. Yes, they have 2 losses. Penn State and Ohio State, regardless of losing in their conference championships, they will still advance. The should-be-ins, you have Indiana and you have Georgia. They should be in and they should win their conference championships. We'll see on how that works out. Even if they lose, Georgia could probably be out. Indiana would only have 2 losses. I could still see them making it. But this is where it gets really interesting is you have the need to win this week to make the playoffs. You have the SMU. Yes, SMU is highly ranked and they're looking great, but they are going up against, oh my gosh, why did I had it pulled up? Crud. BJ, look up who SMU is playing in their conference championship. I'm totally blanking. So moving on from that, you have Boise State and UNLV, both from the Mountain West, on this need to win week. It's come down to with Tulane and Army coming down in their American conference that they have. Regardless if either one of those teams win, it is pretty much set that whoever wins the Mountain West will go in with Boise State or UNLV. And I honestly don't even think with Boise State sitting at 10, if they lose to UNLV and they have 2 losses on their record, I don't think that they would get in. There's a lot of other teams who have played harder teams to get in. So I think this is a must win, and whoever loses is out when it comes to UNLV and Boise State. And then
SMU is in the ACC, so they're
Yes.
playing Clemson.
Thank you. So that's perfect because that's what I want to bring up. Need to win to also make this week. So you have SMU versus Clemson this weekend. And really, it comes down to I don't think SMU would get in if they lose to Clemson, and same with Clemson. So obviously, this has big stakes because, as it says here, needs Clemson to lose. Alabama, South Carolina, and Miami. Some people have Miami in right now. I currently don't. And they need Clemson to lose for their chance to be in. Plus, they got to do what they need to do in their own conference championships. Ole Miss, BYU, they lost too many too late. And then, as you can see down there, it's over. Texas A&M, they did lose to Texas. Colorado, they had a really bad loss recently. Even though you have those last 3, those are in the American Conference that I was talking about that could have potentially taken over that 12th seed spot with Boise State or UNLV from the Mountain West. But it's over with how they just beat up on each other. It's done. So Army, Memphis, and Tulane will be over. Illinois, even though it had a really good season, it's done. Mizzou, done. Syracuse, which I'm happy about because UNLV lost to them. They popped back in with that great win against University of Miami. So this is kind of where we're looking at with the playoffs. Obviously, everything, when you come down to the conference championships, this is going to all shift again. And some of these games have big implications. Like I talked about last week, and I'll bring it up again with the Boise State UNLV game. If UNLV beats Boise State, that would most likely lock where your top 4 power conferences will get the first round bye. And because Boise currently has that first round bye with their record. So that can just shift, and that can kind of open up a spot for, another one of those big SEC teams, ACC teams to make the college football playoffs, where you wouldn't have to give an at-large bid kind of situation. So that's what we're looking at. It's going to be a really fun weekend. We can look into the college football playoffs games. We'll do that on Thursday. I'm really excited about it. And I'm just excited that UNLV, in everybody's predictions, they still have Boise State beating UNLV when UNLV only lost to them by 4 points. And it came down to they scored 2 touchdowns on UNLV in the last 2 minutes of the first half. UNLV was the better team in that whole game. That I'm really excited for this rematch. I can't wait. And people are just kind of like overlooking UNLV, like, oh, well, it could be, if UNLV does win, it could shake up the college football playoffs, but Boise's going to win. People are talking about it. Everything I see is talking about how Boise State's just going to walk through the Mountain West Conference Finals and just get in. And I don't think that's the case. And that's me not trying to be a UNLV homer. I'm just watching with how this team has played and how Boise State has played down the road. Boise State is squeaking out games against teams they should not lose to, and they're barely beating them. They're kind of pulling a Chiefs right now. So it should be very interesting. And if I was any of those big power conferences, I would definitely be watching, especially the Big Ten. I'd be watching that game very closely to see if you get a first round bye or not.
Yeah. Also, what is it? Just hop onto what you were saying. Tough way for both Syracuse and what is it? Well, Illinois is still should be in, right? They were in that category with Georgia should be in. So they had a good game this week, but also just Syracuse beating Miami, and then Indiana. Indiana destroying Purdue. Great last week of games for those
and Indiana
two teams.
needed that, because if they do lose their conference championship, you have to look at them though to still put them in, because they just blew a team out, like absolutely annihilated them. Did that game end up with the big goose egg, right?
Yeah, 66-0.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
that's impressive. That's impressive. I would want Indiana in even if they lose. I mean, because their only loss this year so far is against Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, also, what is it? Miami was playing with fire all season long. We talked about it on every week of this podcast when we talked about.
And I actually did say it. I said, "Be careful." I remember. Do you remember? I said Syracuse could take them.
Yeah. And but they played with fire, finally got burned. Also the I think Army, they're out because they had the one 2 weeks ago where it was winning in and they lost. So
yeah,
I really do think
they have the one loss. So even if they beat Tulane, this is what I was trying to say. Even if they beat Tulane in their championship and they go in as a one-loss team, either Boise or UNLV with 2 losses Boise would have 1 loss and UNLV would have 2. UNLV still has a better record, and they would have just beat Boise State. And their only 2 losses are Boise State and Syracuse, who are both ranked. So I couldn't see, even if Army wins as a 1-loss team, how they could jump UNLV if UNLV wins their conference championship being a 2-loss team.
Yeah. And then so really when it comes to the championships, it's UNLV Boise is
win and get in. It's
get in.
That's as simple as it is.
But then when it comes almost like what we were talking about last week, when it's the SEC championship and the Big Ten championship, all 4 of those teams are in it. So those games really don't matter. It kind of just matters when it comes to seeding, but again, it's not like they play home games. They all play in sponsored bowl games at neutral sites. So I don't even really think those games matter. So it'll be interesting to see how those teams approach those games. I mean, I guess if you're Oregon, you want to keep your undefeated streak going, but at what cost. However, the ACC championship game looks to now be, as you just said, Clemson SMU. That also looks like a win and you're in. So
yeah, winning you're in, and again, big implications because SMU I think needs to win that game to get in, and if Clemson loses, obviously they would be out. They would have four. That would be 4 losses, right?
yeah,
I think 4 losses. So they would not get in, and then that opens the door for like a South Carolina and Alabama, a team like that. As you saw that breakdown. So, and those are all just like predictions. Those aren't hard set facts, but that's most likely how this should shape out if the committee does their job right, which they never do. So we'll see how that works out.
Also, kind of a break for SMU because it would have been SMU Miami if Miami didn't lose. So now they get a 3-loss Clemson team that's giving.
And I think SMU can take Clemson.
I do too. Their defense is better, their offense is better, and they're scoring 100 less points than what Miami has all season. So yeah, that I would love to see SMU.
I would love to see them in it.
Obviously, we're both rooting for UNLV to get in it. I still hope that Boise State could find a way to get in it if they UNLV, but I
just don't see it being ranked 10 if they lose to UNLV, who is ranked really well is what are they, 19th or 20th right now? I think they're 19th.
I believe they're 19th.
Yeah. So 19th, even if you lose to the 19th UNLV in the conference championship and you have 1 loss.
Yeah,
do you put Boise State in over like the Alabama? I would, because Bama has 2 bad losses against 2 6-loss teams in Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, but is the committee maybe the only saving grace for Boise if UNLV does beat them and they would get the pick over Alabama or South Carolina or whatever, is that they have Genty, who you and I both agree is the best player in college football. Yeah,
he should win the Heisman.
He should. He's not going to, but he should. And, funny fact, outside of the one listener that we have here, my buddy, who thinks it's definitely Travis Hunter, deservingly Travis Hunter, might I add. I talked to 3 other people over the Thanksgiving weekend that are super close, watch college football a lot, and they're like, no, Genty is by far the best player. Yes, he's in a lower conference, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what he's doing is just unheard of.
It's funny how the knock against Boise State is they're in a lower conference, but yet they're still the 10th ranked team in the nation, and Colorado's 20th ranked in the nation with 2 more losses. So Colorado is so much of a better team that they are 2 losses worse and 10 spots behind them. Like, that makes no sense to me. Also, the Shedeur Sanders the talk is he's going to be a top 5 NFL pick. Besides Genty on this Boise State team, who else is going to the NFL? Because I haven't heard any buzz for any other player on the Boise State. So also to do that discredit thing where it's like, well, look at the conference they play in, look at the schedule they play with, look at the team that Boise State also has. It's not like they're Georgia or Alabama of a couple of years ago where it was like 5 people on offense and defense are going to the NFL. I have mango on my lip. But yeah, it's just one of those things where all the things used to discredit Boise are never the things you can use to also be like, yeah, but look what he's doing despite the team he's on and all that kind of stuff. As if Genty, if he wasn't on Oregon or Ohio State or Texas right now, wouldn't be putting up these same numbers, maybe better, because he'd be running behind a better offensive line. So again, when Genty loses the Heisman, we can now distinguish who is a Heisman contender and who is not a Heisman contender based on how many snaps they play. Because that's literally the only count that Travis Hunter is doing more than Ashton Gentian. He just plays more of the game, which I guess is now, the prerequisite to win the Heisman. But now, Casino, after all that college football talk, obviously on Thursday we will do also it wasn't our package, it was my wife's package. So I went down there, I grabbed it, and I was why
are we talking about your wife's package? Easy.
But I was like, why is this package bright pink? And then I was like, why would they send it in that? And then I read the name.
Our package isn't supposed to be arriving until tomorrow.
Well, no, now it got moved up to tonight by 10 p.m. So we'll
Oh.
see. But I definitely know it still will at least be here by Thursday. But now, Casino, let's shift to the NFC or to the NFL and let's talk about the NFC. Actually, the NFC South and NFC West, because our number 4 Tuesday talking point is who wins either of these conferences, because it looks like all teams don't want to. Let's look at the standings right now. In the NFC West, the Seahawks are the number 1 seed in the NFC West right now, 7-5. Arizona Cardinals and Rams are 6-6, and 49ers are 5-7. I think we can just cross 49ers out because who knows what's going on with Purdy. They just lost their 2-star running backs. Everybody
It's
else,
over.
Debo.
And I talked about it, man. I had talked about it. I said it that McCaffrey just is done. He's done. You can only come back from injury so many times looking like Superman before you finally run into the kryptonite, man, which is just father time and the injuries, human life, body. Like he's getting beat up way too much. So yeah, the Niners are done. I think we can officially cross the Niners out of it. I would be absolutely shocked beyond shocked if the Niners were able to pull off a 2-game deficit to come back and take that division.
Yeah, especially when it would entail, like beating teams like the Bills. And remember, we looked at their schedule and it was just a brutal finish to this season.
And I know the Seahawks just beat the Jets, but it did not look pretty doing it. They had to come back late, and Arizona, they had their chance. Like, it's who's going to win this division, man. I don't know. I truly think that none of these teams want to.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be the Rams, but every week the Rams play, you're just like, they look okay. You're never like blown away by the Rams. Even that game,
I'm just blown away by Puka Nacua.
Yeah,
again, which my
even
daughter loves, by the way, saying
Puka Nacua. Who
Puka
doesn't?
Nacua. She just runs around the house.
And then,
Nacua.
the Seahawks, there's something up with Geno Smith. He just goes long stretches of their games where he just can't complete a pass, or he just looks lost out there, and then he like flips a switch. Even in that Jets game, they did nothing for 2 quarters of it and scored all their points in the other 2 quarters, which won them the game. But again, it won them the game, by 4 points, and they're playing against the Jets. So it's not like that was an impressive victory. Also, they're 3-4. All these teams 3-4 in the conference for the Seahawks, 3-5 for the Cardinals, 4-5 for the Rams. It's like they can't. All of them are 3-2 their last 5 games, so they're all kind of just right there. And it's really gonna, if they all just finish with the same record, it's literally just gonna be like a weird 3-way tiebreaker, and then probably the team that gets in, everybody's gonna argue it wasn't the right team. So
100%. I mean, like I told you, my coworker is a Seahawks fan. He's like, I don't want them to make the playoffs. They're going to get embarrassed. Like, this is bad. Let's get a better pick. So now moving over to the NFC South here, you have both the Falcons and the Bucs sitting at 6-6, and the Bucs are going to win it. I'll tell you that right now. The Bucs are going to win it. The Falcons this week have to go into Minnesota to take down that team. Not going to happen. It just won't. And then they have the Raiders, then they have the Giants, the Commanders will probably kick their ass, and then the Panthers. So they have 3 games they can win and 2 games that they shouldn't win. Obviously we don't know how things are going to break down. We've seen some upsets already this year, but for the most part, they have 2 games that they should lose and 3 games that they should win. And then, oh, God damn me. Right, I had to press that. Oh, there we go. And then switching on over to the Bucs, they're pretty easy, man. They've got the Raiders, they got the Chargers, Cowboys, Bucs, and Saints. So you can see them losing on the road to the Chargers. Outside of that, every single team that they're playing is below 500. So this is the Bucs to lose. This is truly the Bucs to lose.
Yeah. And then you look at, you look at whatever is happening with Kirk Cousins. Obviously, we always talk about and hype up Baker Mayfield.
It is important to point out, though, that the Bucs do have to win a game over the Falcons, because the Falcons won both of the games against the Bucs, so they do have the tiebreaker on them. So the Bucks do have to win one game over, which I think is going to happen just because Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, I know that you're upset about him last week, barely beating the Panthers. But
They cost me I had a 16 parlay, hit everything. And I mean everything leading up to this game. And then all of a sudden, the Bucks, what was it? It was like the Bucks came back with the 13 points in the fourth quarter. And if they wouldn't have kicked that field goal and they
when they
would
were
have
on
got
like
that touchdown in,
when they were on the 2-yard line,
I
you
would
would've-
have won. Literally, I would have won like $1,100 on a $20 bet.
yeah,
Okay,
it was rough. When I stood still when they were first and goal. I'm like, they're gonna get a touchdown. He's gonna hit. He's gonna hit.
Yeah.
We're gonna get new toys for the podcast. Like, yeah, I was thinking about me. I was thinking about me, not just you.
I was gonna buy us new microphones. I was gonna go crazy. I literally, and also when I was doing putting the parlay together,
Yeah, I didn't think you would put any of this money down, like, in actual responsible financial decisions.
No.
I was like, no, he's gonna blow it on the podcast. He's gonna blow it on me. I'm just gonna be like, well.
Or I was gonna go double or nothing next week. So, but
just
no,
put it all down, put the whole 1,100 down.
Yeah. But I literally, when I was making the parlay, the one bet that changed it from like a $500 bet to an $1,100 bet was the Seahawks Jets game because it was a 1-point game, and I picked the Seahawks, and I was like, Seahawks definitely win this game. It's only a point, so they would have to just win the game outright. And I was like, Seahawks definitely win this game. It doubled it. So I was like, how was that the game? Buccaneers, Panthers, it didn't even like move the odds or whatever. So I just threw that in there as one of those like, oh, this is the obvious one. Like I wasn't even sweating it. And then I was sweating. Literally, I picked the Vikings. I picked the Seahawks. Those games were going down to the wire. Wasn't even paying attention to the Buccaneers game. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, I'm going to lose on because they can't beat the Panthers by 6 points. And then sure enough, I did those. So I want the Buccaneers to win, but I also don't want them to win at all because of the pain they caused me this past weekend. But moving from the Bucks to the Falcons casino, I think the elephant in the room is Kirk Cousins. Since he had a 4-touchdown and a 3-touchdown performance in week 8 and 9 against the Buccaneers and the Cowboys, he has thrown 0 touchdowns and an interception against the Saints, 0 touchdowns and an interception against the Broncos, and then 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions against the Chargers. He's also in those games been sacked 7 times. So what is going on with Kirk Cousins? Did he just lose his mojo?
He lost his mojo, man. He lost it. He got frozen in time. He can't go back and get it. That's an Austin Powers reference. But yeah, he's done. It's late in the season. He's an older quarterback. He's fallen apart here. He's turning back into Kirk Cousins of old, who he's going to be the best mediocre quarterback, and he's sitting at 6-6. It's exactly where he should be, the best mediocre quarterback of all time. That's where he's sitting at. I saw that there's people out there saying, "Can we just have a whole team of Bijan Robinsons? Like, can we just can he just play quarterback? Can we just have a whole team of him?" Which he's had an outstanding year. I'm really proud of what he's done this year. Like he's my own child. No, I've always thought he was a good player. And he's had a really good season.
Also, what a monkey's paw kind of season for the Falcons, where it's like we finally want to see Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson have the seasons they're supposed to have. And then they're like, granted, you get Kirk Cousins. He's playing decent. You're leading the division. And then you look at it and it's like, oh, it's 6-6 and Kirk Cousins is falling apart at the end of the season. Like, what a weird hodgepodge of just like good and bad. But also, this was the game the Falcons were coming off their bye week, so you think you would be the most prepared.
Yeah, no, it's like you said, it's like putting granite on a mobile home, man. Like,
it doesn't.
That countertop's only going to hold up so long before that granite just breaks. Fall through it.
And it's not like the Chargers are a bad team, but again, the Chargers only put up 17 points when you've already turned the ball over 4 times. That Kirk Cousins interception in the end zone is He didn't
Dude,
even. It wasn't even a
he
good
just lobbed
play.
he lobbed it to
It,
coverage
that's what I'm
3,
saying.
just like, ugh.
It wasn't a good play by the Chargers defense. It was literally Kirk Cousins just throwing up on the Thanksgiving weekend, just throwing up a turkey in the middle of 4 players. One of them was his, and it just stayed in the air forever. And everyone watching it was like, "That's an interception." It was awful. Let's move on to our number 3 casino, which actually is only about one team because I think this was one of the most fascinating games of the weekend. And we know how we like our Steelers on this podcast. So, how good are the Steelers, Casino?
God,
Because
they are good.
seen them.
They're
We've
good.
seen them win slugfest where they can't score a touchdown, and now we just saw them win a game where they put up 44 yards or 44 points. Russell Wilson puts up 414 yards, 3 touchdowns. Najee Harris runs for 75 yards and a touchdown. Now, again, the caveat is it was against the Bengals, who have, bar none, the worst defense we've seen maybe in the last couple years in the NFL. Their defense is abysmal. But again, Joe Burrow would be the MVP if the record was reversed and this was an 8-4 Cincinnati Bengals team instead of a 4-8 team.
Yeah.
He does what he does, but I mean, the Steelers, again, everybody's talking about the Eagles, the Lions, the Bills, the Chiefs, where everybody's talking about the Ravens. Are the Steelers secretly like the best team in the league?
They are legit. I would be scared to play them. And I brought it up. So the last couple of weeks, Browns, they beat them, right? They beat them in a snow game. That was just a tough game. Russ still looked okay in that game, but you got to take those with a grain of salt unless you're the Bills. And
Well, no, the Browns beat the Steelers. You
yes,
said the Steelers beat the Browns in a
that,
snow
okay,
game.
you know what I mean. Browns
Yeah.
beat the Steelers. Dang it! Now you ruined my whole Bills thing. Snow games are a thing, but I wasn't worried about them after that game. I mean, look what the Browns have done. They also took care of the Ravens at one point. The Browns have been weird this season. Like they've just been weird. But with that being said, I was not worried about the Steelers. I knew they were going to bounce back, and boy, did they. And Russ had an absolute game. Over 400 yards. He looked like Russell Wilson back when he was in Seattle. He looked like he was playing really, really good football. And you know what? I like the Steelers, and I like Tomlin after the game. I don't know if you heard what Mike Tomlin said about George Pickens, because he was being very immature out there and whatnot. But he basically he said it quote for quote, got to grow up. He's got to grow up. And I like that because I think that shows Tomlin is 100% focused on this season. He's like, we can fucking do it. Like, we can do it. We have a shot. Everybody's looking at those top 3, then the Chiefs. I'm going to say it like that because I don't think they're worried about the Chiefs. I don't think any team's worried about the Chiefs right now. Anyway, but Tomlin looks like he is excited for this game. He was dancing. Did you see that video? He was dancing with the players in the locker room.
Yeah, no, I did.
Dude,
yeah. And
so,
they
like,
told him, he was like, Mike, did you see the video where they were like, you're mic'd up? And he was like, shut the hell up. And he just
I love
walked away.
it. I love it. It's so good. Mike Tomlin being normally super disciplined, but he is a player's coach. He loves his players, but you got to be smart. You got to be smart with it. And Antonio Brown wasn't smart with it, and that's why he's gone. But I really like Tomlin. I like his focus with this team. It kind of feels like the Dan Campbell connection with his team, where the players love the coach. They're not just playing and being a good team. Like, they love their coach. You don't really see that with the Eagles too much. You don't really see that with the Bills too much. The Andy Reid and Mahomes love affair, but it seems like the Lions and the Steelers legitimately love playing for their coaches, and that makes this team dangerous, dude. It makes this team really dangerous.
And you know what? I know the media hates him, but I would say the Eagles love Sirianni. There is a bunch of stuff about Eagles players coming out and like defending him. There's Zach Bond, I think it was not last week's game, but the week before, was on the field like talking about how much Sirianni trusted them because he declined a penalty.
I know I saw some of that too. I know that the players like Sirianni, but
but everybody else.
You don't see it like this. At least I haven't seen it like that. Obviously players are going to defend their coach. You know more about the Eagles obviously than I do. When it comes to stuff like that. But this making its way towards my eyes, that might just be the other media highlighting these teams doing it. But regardless, this makes Pitt very scary. I wouldn't want to play them.
And staying on the Steelers topic, their wins are actually, they might have the most impressive wins collectively in the NFL. They beat the Falcons, who we just talked about are leading a division. They beat the Denver Broncos, who are a playoff wildcard team. They beat the Chargers, who are a playoff wildcard team. They beat the Commanders, playoff wildcard team. They beat the Ravens, playoff team. They just destroyed the Bengals. And then from week 15 to 17, they're going to play Eagles, who are number 2 seed in the NFC, Ravens again, and then Kansas City, who's the number 1 team in the AFC. So if all of a sudden they beat Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs back to back to back, and
all their 3 games that they've lost, their 3 games they've lost are only by a total of 11 points. I mean, week 4, week 5, you had the Colts and the Cowboys. They each lost by a field goal. That's early on in the season. You're still figuring things out. And plus, those were the ones, where you still had Justin Fields in there. So, those could have been wins if you had Russ in there. If Russ was with how Russ is playing, none of us knew it except for Mike Tomlin. And then the Browns game, again, you just throw that one into a wash. They still lost by 5 in a close game.
And again, it was a Thursday divisional.
It was a Thursday, short week divisional game on the road in a snow game. You take it, you just take it off the chin and just say, fuck it, moving on. And then you come and lay 44 points against the Bengals on the road.
So again, week 15, 16, 17, if they go 3-0 in that one, I think we have to start having real discussions about the Steelers actually being the best team in the league.
That's going to be a Eagles, Ravens, Steelers.
And especially because they're at Philadelphia.
Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs.
At Ravens. Yeah. And then they get Kansas City at home. But next up, Casino. Number
Big
2.
Games.
I just wanted to talk about just a handful of teams saying, do they have a chance? Again, I was going to do contenders or pretenders, but we've already done that before. So this is, do they have a chance? The criteria is, do they have a chance to win 1 playoff game? That's
I like that one.
1 playoff game. So we're just going to quickly go through these teams, tell me yes or no, and then make the case. Because the other ones, and again, the number 1 is we're talking about like the top tiers. So this one, I'm just going to go down the list, and we'll start in the AFC. Miami Dolphins. Do they have a chance to go to the playoffs?
They don't have a chance. I don't
think so either. No. And we look at what they just did this past weekend. They got stomped again in the snow against the Packers. And again, you can't trust a team that can't win during the winter when all your important games happen during the winter. Yeah, and you're not going to have a playoff home team.
In the AFC, you're going to be playing so many winter games, whether there's snow or not snow. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. You can't do it.
But next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens, 8-5.
I can see them winning 1. That's it. But I can't see them with that defense. I can't see them getting further than that. And honestly, I'm giving them 1 just because of how good their offense is. Honestly, so because there's some teams that make that playoffs that I could see beating them.
Yeah, I don't think
that are not the Chiefs and the Bills.
Yeah, well, just throwing them in there. We don't think they beat the Chiefs. We don't think the Bills. We don't think the Steelers would beat them. But again, I could see them beating Houston. I could see them beating the Chargers. I could see them beating the Broncos, right? If that's like a weird.
I could see that, but I can also see them losing those games.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but yeah.
So I'm going to give them 1. I could say 1. Yes, I can see them winning 1 just due to their offense. But then after that, I can't see them beating high-powered offenses and defenses.
Yeah, especially if the second round they have to go to KC or to Buffalo. There's no way. Or even to Pittsburgh. We just saw them get put. I mean, Lamar can't win against Pittsburgh. Next up, Houston Texans, 8-5.
They don't have a chance.
I think they're one and done. I think
Yep.
in a playoff game, I would take the Chargers and Broncos, and maybe Ravens
Yeah.
Texans would be a pick 'em, but I think I
So
would pick Chargers Broncos over them.
yeah, so I think Texans, they make it. They're not winning a game.
Yeah. So we're saying no chance for the Texans. Now let's switch over to the NFC because obviously Chargers Broncos, it would really just depend on who they played in the wild card. But now Commanders 8-5.
Yes, they can win a game.
I think so too. I think their offense has proven to be, I don't want to say elite, but very good. I think they could win a shootout if it comes to like a defensive battle. I still don't trust their defense, but I think especially in the NFC, they're either going to be playing Vikings or Packers. I don't know. I don't know who I'd take in those. Probably Vikings or Packers, which let's go to Vikings or Packers. Vikings 10-2.
Yeah, I could see them winning a couple actually. So yeah, I
Yeah.
have the Vikings. They're going to win a couple. They have a chance. They have a chance to win one. They have a chance to
Same
win.
with Packers.
Same with Packers, especially if anything has to go through Lambeau for sure. But I like that feistiness of that young team. They've shown up in big games.
Yeah, Packers Vikings still a chance this late in the season to have the number 1 seed, not only in the NFC or in the NFC North, but in the NFC if things go their way. So, both of them could win the playoff games. I don't know if I see either of those teams this year as Super Bowl contenders, though. I don't see the picture of Darnold or Love holding up the Super Bowl trophy. To me, that seems unlikely. Next up, Casino. We'll just throw both these teams in. Atlanta Falcons or Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Do they have a chance? Remember, 1 playoff game victory.
Falcons, no. Bucks, yes. Because they got their boy Mike Evans back, and Baker just looks so confident this year, even when his team is down.
Yeah.
He just looks like he's ready to play some football. And that makes him dangerous. I wouldn't say scary, but that makes him dangerous. I can see him winning one.
Yeah, I pretty much share your exact sentiments. I don't think Falcons have a chance, but if Bucks got in there, again, the Bucks are a team I don't want to see again as an Eagles fan. They've whooped our ass the last like 3 times we played them. And then in the NFC West, we're just going to put Seahawks, Cardinals, Rams all together.
So,
Do they have a chance?
Actually, none of them have a chance. None of them have a chance.
I think they can play some good games. I don't
Yes.
see them beating Vikings or Packers.
I don't see them beating any of the other 6 teams.
Yeah. Maybe if they got a weird one where they're like the 4th seed playing the 5th seed, or no, that wouldn't happen because they'd win the division. So no chance.
No chance.
So do they have a chance? Very few teams do.
No.
Now, Casino, let's move on just to the elite, aka what we want to call the
Eagles.
No, what we want to call the elite, if I can find it right here, is our Super Bowl bubble, Casino.
Oh, back to the bubbles.
Back to the bubbles. I still think I think Steelers, again, they might, especially if on that 3-game stretch,
the
we might have to squeeze them in.
So what we should have is we should have that Steelers where Washington is right now, because
they're like almost touching the bubble.
They're almost touching the bubble.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a solid thing. I mean, that's going to be that should be your Super Bowl right there. Yes, you have the Steelers, and any of these teams look good. The Ravens, that offense is great. But those 4 teams, you have the Lions, the Bills, Kansas City, and the Eagles, just look outstanding. And the Chiefs don't even look that great. We'll get to that here in a bit. But the 3-headed lion, or the 3-headed dragon, let's go dragon, so it's not just lions. The 3-headed dragon, you have the Lion, the Bills, and the Eagles. I can't see any one of those teams losing to the Chiefs right now. I can't see any one of those teams losing to anybody right now. That's why I am so excited for that Bills-Lions game coming up. That is going to be and now that could even be a potential Super Bowl preview. I'm really excited. And you know what I'm more excited about is those 3 teams being better than the Chiefs.
Yeah. And also, when's the last time we had legitimate where we're like 2 teams in the NFC could win the Super Bowl, 2 teams in the AFC could win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I don't remember a time that happening.
Well,
where there's
not could win, but
favorite.
they're not could win. They are expected to win.
Yeah,
There's a
like
difference because
you can
all these teams in here could win the Super Bowl, and I could say, I could honestly look at all of them, and if any of these teams won the Super Bowl,
you wouldn't be shocked. Yeah.
maybe not the Commanders, maybe not the Chargers, but if the Packers, Steelers, Vikings, Ravens, and then the core four, any of those teams win the Super Bowl, I'd be like, yeah, makes sense. They had good seasons. They're good teams.
Yeah. Right now in the actual bubble, we have the 10-2 Buffalo Bills, the 11-1 Kansas City Chiefs, the 10-2 Philadelphia Eagles, and the 11-1 Detroit Lions. So, Casino, to talk about these teams, we first have to go all the way back to Thanksgiving night, or well, Thanksgiving morning, technically, to see the 11-1 Detroit Lions win 23-20 against the 4-8 Bears. After this game, Matt Eberflus was fired from this game because for some stupid reason, the Bears didn't use a timeout, even though they had one, just let 30 to 40 seconds run off the clock, and then they tried a Hail Mary attempt into the end zone, even though they were in field goal range to send it to OT. Caleb Williams had, again, continued his streak of just having great games. He's had, pretty damn good games for the past month. He was 20 for 39, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. DJ Moore, 8 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Keenan Allen also had 2 touchdowns. Goff, on the other hand, 2 touchdowns, 21 for 34, 221. And then the team of Sonic and Knuckles, as they like to be called, had a performance where Montgomery rushed for 21 carries, 88 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 carries, 87 yards. So, Casino, after this debacle between Detroit and the Bears, were you shocked that Eberflus got fired because of it?
No, not at all. That was some of the worst late game management I have seen. Like, just
I don't think it gets
horrid.
worse. Yeah.
I honestly don't either. Dude, you had a legitimate shot to have maybe another 6 plays that you could have ran. You could have got the passes outside. You had time. Like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, you deserve to be fired. 100%, you're done. Get out of there.
Yeah,
Like,
especially
I talked to my one of my other coworkers. He's a Bears fan, diehard. He's from Chicago, and he was just like, it's time. It's time. Before he got fired, it was like, it's time.
He never should have been the head coach for this team to begin with.
He shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
So so glad he's done. Get him out of here.
Yeah, that was, again, one of the dumbest things you ever
I want to see Caleb Williams do well. I was giving him shit at the beginning. I was giving him shit at the beginning of the year just because it was the hype of the Bears.
Yeah, we weren't giving him shit. We were giving the people talking about him
and
shit.
I think all 4 of the top 4 quarterbacks that hit the draft this last year have done outstanding. Bo Nix, Jaden Williams, Caleb
all
Williams.
Home runs.
Home runs. I love Drake May. As a Patriot fan, I'm in love. I'm like, we have a fucking quarterback. We have a quarterback. Like,
I agree.
It's outstanding. I love all these quarterbacks. I think they're all going to be very successful in this league, whether they're on the teams that they're on now or if they move away. So, I'm glad he's done. Get Eberflus out of here. What a horrible name.
But then we see, obviously, that was really the only marquee game on Thanksgiving, which we thought would be not as close as it actually was. But then we have the treat of a Friday game where the Kansas City Chiefs win 19-17 against the Las Vegas Raiders, our hometown Raiders. I mean, Aiden O'Connell, 23 of 35, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Mahomes, 1 touchdown, over 300 yards. This game, because Chiefs games can't just end normally. This game ends on a flag that was a fumble that was supposed to be blown dead before
it was a dead ball, dude. That's another one of those, just like, how for the Chiefs did this, just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. And
a field goal wins this game. Coincidentally, the Raiders just don't get the field goal attempt because the penalty was changed after what felt like a 10-minute discussion between the refs. I was going to play that they can't keep getting away with it, Casino, but we're already running so long. I mean, how do they keep getting away with this?
Because they're the Chiefs, man. And this is what I'm saying is like, play one of those top 3 teams, the Eagles, the Bills, or the Lions, and these games won't be close to have this kind of issue. You know, like, again, you had another chance to blow out a divisional rival, to blow out another team, the Raiders. This time it wasn't in Vegas. This time it was like, how? Or no, was it in Vegas? I don't remember. I don't fucking know.
No, it was in Kansas City.
Yeah, so this time it was in Kansas City. I went to a brewery that night in California. I got drunk and I was just like, this is great because of that game. But I didn't get drunk. I had to drive. It was sad. I had 1 beer. My wife had 3. Anyway.
And then obviously we're talking about the top 4 teams. I already did the Eagles Ravens, which I'll put in right after this. So that was at the beginning. When I put this into clips, I'll put that part here. But then after that, Casino, we saw Sunday Night Football. The Bills beat the 49ers 35-10 in a snow game. Josh Allen, first quarterback, to do the pass, rush, and receiving touchdown. Wasn't that what it was?
It's been a long time. So you hear pass. I'll look it up. Go for it.
But yeah, Josh Allen, 13 for 17, 148 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown and then a receiving touchdown, technically, when his own ball gets knocked back in his arms and he ran for it.
He did. He is the only one to do that in history, was to catch, run, and throw for a touchdown in the same game.
Yeah, even though it doesn't on the stat sheet count as a receiving touchdown, so I don't know how that's a record.
Yeah, and it looked like a rushing touchdown. I will say that. I will say that. But he is phenomenal, and this is where my whole take is with him still being up there for the MVP. And again,
he's going to win it. He'll win the MVP.
But now just a quick sidebar over to your Saquon Barkley is what he did. I know I kind of touched on it. What he did against that number 1 rushing defense was outstanding. So I know it's going to go to a quarterback, but at this point I would say flip them. For me personally, for me personally, you flip the coin for those 2. But Josh Allen, if they can continue playing how they're playing, is going to win that award. But you know what? Rightfully so. He's looked great. He's looked great doing it.
They should honestly just separate the awards now, or just say valuable quarterback and then most valuable non-quarterback, however you want to phrase that to make awards. Because
and it's kind of refreshing that in college, even though it's not going to be Genty, it's not a quarterback.
Yeah,
it's not a
quarterback. Refreshing. Yeah, it's refreshing that the battle for the Heisman in college is between a wide receiver / cornerback and a running back. It's not even like a cornerback / quarterback, or like some semblance of a quarterback's in there. A quarterback's not like
quarterback
0%
placeholder.
Yeah, exactly. But in this game, also, I'll spare you the Kyle Shanahan rant of the week, Casino, but maybe in a snow game where it's really slippery, don't put out your running back who keeps injuring his legs. Maybe, in a game you kind of don't need because you're already dead in the water. Maybe don't do that. And then you lose 2 running backs.
Well, if they would have won that game, they would only been a game behind.
But you're not winning that game. It's 10-2. Again, you're going against the 10-2 Buffalo in a blizzard. You're the West Coast team who's traveled. This is the farthest you could travel. That's not an overseas game. You're not winning this game. You're 5-7. Again, you're in a conference where you can still win the division. So why not just take a mulligan on this game? Also, nobody is going to blame the coach after the game if you get just annihilated and you didn't have McCaffrey in the game and your reasoning was, well, we didn't want him to get injured in the snow because he's injured a lot. Every single person on earth would be like, yeah, I get it. Like, you're not winning. Nobody thought this 49ers team would win this game, except, let me check. Did I put them down as my upset of the week? No, I did not. So we both had the Bills. So yeah, Every 49ers fan I know who I work with was like, we're going to get annihilated. We're going to get killed. And then you did. And then you lost 2 running backs. So again, Bills are good. Bills are good. 49ers aren't. They've been bit by the injury bug. Also, Purdy, I don't know what that injury was, but
Dude,
he comes back and he throws 90 yards.
Yeah,
That's
it's something with his throwing arm. It's been talked about. So it's like something to do with like his rotator. I don't know.
yeah. Also, Debo Samuel again talking all that shit last year, and now he just can't stop fumbling and losing the ball. So you love to see it. All right, Casino. It is now time for everyone's favorite segment, and that is the only sports podcast, Power Rankings. Casino. You know how I love the themes. Today's theme is space, because when Casino sent me his Power Rankings, I was like, you must be out of your mind. You must be floating in space, because
you're the
you can't
only
be from this
person.
planet.
You're the only person that has him as one, man.
That's not true. That's not true. Also, you don't know who we're talking about because we haven't done our power rankings yet. So for Casino's power ranking, number 10. And again, we're traveling through space. We're spacemen lost in space. So we're floating through the galaxy. Your number 10, the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I do have the Broncos here. And it's not because of how well or not so well Bo Nix played in this last game, but that defense that looked really good. I do like the Broncos. I told you they're going to keep moving up in my power rankings as long as they keep winning games here, and they did just that.
Yeah. My number 10 team, Casino. Now we're going from space, and the only way to travel through space is obviously to use the hyperspeed, right? Or to use whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, depending on if you're a Star Wars fan or a Trekkie, which one is it called?
My number 10, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because
I love that. That's all-time top photo.
I use it for everything.
Yeah.
I use it for
So
everything.
what we're referencing, if you're just listening, is that Baker Mayfield where he just looks like a total bum at the podium.
He's got the handlebar mustache. It's
dude,
great.
It is so good. It is so good.
But I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as my number 10 team because, again, I think they're going to win the NFC South. I think they show so much heart, grit. I don't think a team that is bad plays better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I would agree with you.
Yeah. I don't think they're a good team. I don't think they're a bad team, but I just don't think any team plays harder than them. And I don't think a quarterback in the league wants to win more than Baker Mayfield. Like you could just
maybe Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Should I say on a winning team? Like Baker Mayfield literally just grabs the team in the palm of his hand and he's like, I am winning this game. He's throwing blocks downfield. He's running for his life. Again, I just like Baker Mayfield.
I don't hate this pick. I truly don't hate this pick. They're right outside for me.
Buccaneers at number 10. Casino's number 9, falling all the way down to number 9, the Baltimore Ravens.
I don't care how good your offense is. That defense is shit. That defense is shit, dude. And you're supposedly having a awesome run defense. Yes, it's against an MVP candidate with Saquon Barkley, but you couldn't stop him. Like you couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like,
and he iced the game like he's done against everybody else.
Yeah. It's you can't. The Ravens defense. I mean, you have 5 losses on the season. Like you're lucky you're in the power rankings. You are extremely lucky that teams are still considering you elite. I don't know why I'm still considering you elite.
Wow. Strong words, Casino. Strong words.
I mean, prove me wrong. Like
no, that's true. I agree.
Come on.
My number 9 team, Casino, is a 2-way tie. I have both the Broncos and
why do you keep doing this? That's not fair.
We never said we couldn't. I have the Broncos at Chargers at number 10. Both of them, again.
At number 10?
Or at number 9, I'm sorry. I forgot. I thought Baker Mayfield was just hanging out right there. But number 9, they are both, honestly, if these two teams played in a wild card game right now, who are you picking? I feel like you could just do a coin flip.
I would probably pick Broncos.
See, I think I would pick the Chargers just because I think they have obviously they have a better quarterback. I think they have a better coach. I think their defense is pretty comparable to each other. But
Yeah, but I do think Denver's defense is better.
see, and when you look at the rankings of the defense in just total defense, Chargers are 14th, Broncos are 9. So
Yeah.
again, they are very similar. Yeah, but then again, you look at the offenses, and would you rather have Bo Nix or
Just I
Herbert?
would rather have Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and then for coaching, I think pretty comparable in coaching, even though we don't like him. Sean Payton's a damn good coach.
He's a
I
damn good coach. He's a
he's
damn
a
good coach, and he just couldn't do anything with that asshole Russell Wilson. Only Mike Tomlin can reel that guy in.
Yeah. And obviously we both love Harbaugh. And again, I think these teams are very similar to each other. And I think that you could do a coin flip if they played every week, these teams would finish 8-8. Like they would just win one, lose one, win one, lose one. So that's why they're both my number 9. You can also put 2 people at one spot, Casino. I don't know why I'm the only one doing this. Your number 8, we just mentioned them. You have the Los Angeles Chargers.
I do. Again, because I'm not putting teams linked up together.
Your
So
loss.
yes, I know I just said that I would have Broncos and then I have Chargers ahead of them. But again, this is where I have them in a hole for the season, right? But putting those two teams together, that would be a really fun matchup. But I do like the Chargers. I do think I would be afraid to play them. They play old style football. They play beat the hell out of you football. Low scoring. I like their coach. I definitely do like Harbaugh a little bit more, obviously, than most coaches in the league right now. So that's why I'm going to keep them sitting there. And I do have them above the Ravens because at least they can stop some teams.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at Chargers, Broncos, Chargers right now, 8-4, Broncos 8-5. I mean, points for Denver has more points against Chargers have allowed less, but they're both 4-2 at home. The Chargers are 4-2 on the road. The Broncos are 4-3. They're 2-1 and 2-2 in the division. They're so similar in almost every category
What was
that I
that?
think they're so similar
No,
in
what
every
was the
category.
hand action?
So similar in
So
every
similar.
in every category that I think if you don't put these 2 teams on the same tier, I mean, what are you doing? You're out in space. That's what I'm thinking. But next up, Casino. My number 8 team is only one team, and your pick of the Ravens dropped down to number 9. I have them here at number 8. Quote the Ravens nevermore. I have the Ravens at number 8. I don't know why you're laughing, Casino. It's just a little bird, aka a raven. But
Or it's arguably one of the best, if not the best, Treehouse of Horrors episodes.
uh no, the one where Homer goes back in time with the toaster. That one's the best. That
fair
one's the
enough.
best. But I have the Ravens at number 8. Bart the Raven is the mascot for them. Again, much like Casino mentioned, their offense is elite, 8-5. But again,
That's what
elite
they look like.
offense.
That facial expression is what they look like every single time that they play a good offense.
Yeah. When their offense is not putting up points, we've seen what they do. They score 12 points and they get shut down. They don't score a touchdown against the what is it? Steelers. Their defense actually plays well, stops the Steelers, and they still lose. So this offense, as we've said for multiple weeks now, they need to be elite to beat anybody. And if they slip up even a little, then what we
I can't
see
stop
them
looking at
score.
Baker.
He's there for the whole list. But yeah, we just are in a spot right now where we're watching a team much like this reminds me of those Chargers teams where it was like they had LT and they had Phillip Rivers and they had Schottenheimer and they were just like these elite teams that were like losing because remember that season where they have the number 1 offense and number 1 defense and they lost games because of like their special teams, just weird stuff. The Ravens are literally losing games because they can't, their elite offense just will be elite, but then they can't stop anybody. Or then all of a sudden they can't score. It's just weird juju with this Ravens team. Next up,
Juju
Casino.
Smith-Schuster.
He's not on the team.
I know,
Next
that's
up,
what I'm saying.
Casino. Your number 7 pick. You have the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I do. I don't know why. I like the Packers. I think they're playing well. Again, I just want a little more consistency on the player that you just spent a shit ton of money on with Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Outside of that, they're great in running back. Their defense is good. They've got playmakers everywhere. You just got to make sure that your quarterback is a little more consistent. That's my one scare for this team. Besides that, they're young, they're hungry, they want to get back to winning football. I mean, that organization, that franchise is so hell bent on being a top tier franchise. You know, like they pride themselves on that. Same with like the Ravens and the Steelers. You know, they want to be somebody that is always going to be scary to play against. So, and I think they're that. I think they just got to have a little more consistency with their quarterback play.
True. My number 17 Casino was almost the Packers, but the Steelers get put in the Packers place because you'll see in a minute. I couldn't put the Packers here because then it would have messed up my joke answers. So really, I have the Steelers as a better team than this. But again,
Your whole power rankings is a joke setup. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, joke setup punchline. I mean, that's how it is.
So the only sports podcast, we're gonna go with my power rankings because yours are a joke.
Weekly. Mine are weekly. And my weekly power rankings has the Steelers a little bit less than the Packers because again, the Steelers gave up 38 points against the Bengals. And again, against that Bengals defense, they scored 44 points, but Steelers defense is supposed to be elite.
Yeah,
and
we talked about it all season. Who's got the numbers if they had a winning record would be MVP of the league? Joe Burrow.
yeah, but you know what happened when he played a real defense against the Eagles? He had his worst game of the season. So that's all I'm saying. I
Can't be
think, but
perfect every game, bud.
that's true. And it's divisional. But again, also, I don't think anybody would have seen this game being 44-38, an AFC North game being 44-38 is
Yeah,
crazy.
no, definitely not.
So Steelers drop a little again because it's based weekly, and they had a great performance this week offensively, but defensively, again, you're giving 38 points to a 4-win team. I know it's Joe Burrow, I know, but also Chase Brown had 70 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins had pretty decent games for what it was. TJ Watt was a monster in this game, which I do really like the Steelers defense.
Dude, Watt's so good.
Yeah, he might be the best defensive player in the league. And but yeah, Steelers, you got to fall back. I would put you at 5, but again, you gave up so many points to this Bengals team. So you're at, or no, I'm sorry, I would put you at 6, but you're at 7. So now, Casino, your number 6 is the team we just talked about, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
They look good. They look good. Now I just need them to again, the teams that I have ahead of them, the teams that I have ahead of them are just simply better in my mind. But the Steelers, I would be scared shitless to play. I mean, they look good, and we talked about it. Their first couple losses, that was when you still had Justin Fields in there, and then you had that the crazy game in the snow against the Browns divisional game. So Steelers sit there. What Russ did this last weekend proves to me that he is ready to win playoff football.
Yeah, I agree. And
in that locker room afterwards, where Tomlin, that scares me. When a coach is celebrating and having fun with the team, when he's having fun with the team, that scares me. I would be so intimidated if I was a player on another team and I'm like, oh, they're like family. Oh fuck.
My number 6 team is your number 7 team. It is the Green Bay Packers, Casino. And it's the Green Bay Packers because it is, I got a cheesehead fan there. It is the Green Bay Packers because of
with
the performance.
pasties on.
It is the Green Bay Packers because of the performance they had on Thanksgiving against the Dolphins. Dolphins had all the momentum in the world. Tua was like the best quarterback in the league statistically since he came back. Everybody was like, Dolphins are back, us included. And we're like, now Dolphins make a run and go into the playoffs. The Green Bay Packers come out, drop 14 on them in the first half or in the first quarter. Never look back. Games ends up being 30-17. I agree with you where Jordan Love can be really streaky, but he was really good in this game. 21 for 28, 274, 2 touchdowns. So based on this week, I would say the Packers have a little bit edge over the Steelers, but if I had more teams on this playlist or on this rankings, I feel like they'd be on the same spot. Steelers and Green Bay Packers. So Casino, your number 5 pick, if I can find it, there's so many things. Your number 5 might shock some people. You have the Chiefs all the way at number 5.
You had another opportunity at home to blow out a horrible team. The Raiders, they have 2 wins, right?
Yeah.
I believe the Raiders, yeah. You had an opportunity to blow them out, to redeem yourself from the first time you played them where they kept it a 1-score game. And now you're at home and you should have absolutely destroyed them. And you didn't. And you should have lost. Again, to O'Connell.
O'Connell had the best game of his career.
Dude, he had an outstanding game. And like I just, it blew my mind that they lost. Like I read I was doing family pictures before we went to the brewery, and I read what happened on the Gamecast, and I was just like, like I wasn't even mad. I just giggled because I'm like, that's just, it's so expected now that Chiefs are going to win like that in close games against games they should dominate teams. That yes, they are 5. I have them at 5. They're just not good. Yes, they keep winning. Okay, I get that. I get that they keep winning and they still have only 1 loss. Fucking whoop-de-doo. But you're to the eye test. They're not playing well. This defense that's really good. I'm not going to say that they're bad, but this defense that everybody's like, oh, that's a defense. How are you letting these teams do this to you? And then teams that have mediocre defenses, you're not putting points up. You're not blowing them out. You need to fucking stomp on teams, and you're not doing it. That's where I'm at with the Chiefs, man.
Yeah.
Are they a great team? Are they still a 1-loss team? Andy Reid, Mahomes, I would be scared shitless to play them, especially in Arrowhead. And I think that's what a lot had to do with that game, where everybody's gonna have their conspiracy theories, but it might have just been too fucking loud in that game where the center fucked up, and he thought he heard what he heard. So, give Chiefs fans some credit there. I'll give them that credit. But again, you're squeaking by. You are squeaking by. Add this to the list. Add this to the Ravens, to the Falcons, to the Bucks, to the Broncos, Raiders the first time, and then add this one. That's 6 games off the top of my head that I can think about that you're squeaking by. And Panthers, another one. Games you were squeaking by, man.
Well, also,
how does this keep happening?
They had a top 3 defense after playing the Panthers and the Raiders. Their total defense has slipped to number 8 in the league. Again, after playing the Raiders and the Panthers, their defense fell. So maybe, again, offensively, defensively, this team is a lot more shaky than I think anybody wants to admit. Next up, Casino, my number 5 pick, I am going with the Minnesota Vikings. So when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings, they win this past weekend. And again, they looked good doing it. They came back late against what we still think is a feisty Arizona team. They win by 1 point, overcame all the turnovers, the fumbles. Again, Sam Darnold had a fantastic game, 21 for 31, 235, 2 touchdowns. No running game whatsoever in this game. So it was literally all Darnold, all defense. They won late. Again, Minnesota 10-2, kind of just hanging around. Sam Darnold was in that slump. Now he's out of it and playing just like he did in the beginning of the season when everybody had him as a legit legit Super Bowl
I keep
or MVP candidate. Yeah.
Yes, I hate that you keep saying slump. It wasn't a slump. You played the Lions, who are a better team, and then off a short week after playing the Lions, you lost. Like it fucking happens. And after that, they've been good. So
Well, no,
that
I'm saying Sam Darnold was in a slump. Like, because passing wise, he
okay,
had
numbers
a
wise. All right, fair.
yeah.
Fair. But yeah, no,
And
this team is
also
good.
his
So
slump was against the Colts and the Jaguars. So it wasn't the games you're talking about.
right, but he still won those games. They still won.
Yeah.
So here's the thing though. This looks like the team a few years back where they kept winning like close games. It was that whole, by one score flip-flop kind of games, kind of what the Chiefs are having this year. They
Yeah.
don't look like that though. They don't look like that this year. Like this year, they actually look like a team that deserves to be 10-2.
Yeah. And they're your number 4 team. So talk more on them, Casino.
Well, I just did.
All right. There you go. But yeah,
Sam Darnold's
also,
playing. You just said it. Sam Darnold's playing great. I mean, outside of those couple games, like he could be up there for an MVP candidate. He's looked really good. This defense looks great. You get some key players back. You get TJ Hawkinson. He looks like a great safety blanket. They won him a game. Like this team is going to get dangerous down the stretch.
yeah. Only thing that scares me about the Vikings is you can pass on them, 28th in the league in passing defense, but currently the number 1 team against the run in the entire NFL. So they have the
Yeah.
number
Okay.
1
So
rush
pretty much
defense,
they're the Ravens, but they're doing what the Ravens can't do. And Ravens
which is
have a
win
better
close games. Yeah.
Ravens have a better offense than the Vikings. At least
Yeah.
most everybody says so, but on paper, that's what it should be. But what are the Vikings doing? They have 3 more wins.
Well, they're also just finding ways to win. Again,
Yeah.
they're
Good
overcoming
teams find good ways to
turnovers.
win.
Yeah, I agree. And again,
Unless you're the Chiefs and you just get gifted.
well, the Lions, again, 1 loss away from all of a sudden the Vikings being the number 1 or 2 seed in the league. So Vikings, again, just staying right there. Now, Casino, after that was your number 4 pick, my number 4 pick. Oh no, she's back, Casino. Because the Chiefs are the devil. Everyone knows that. They're the devil.
Ugh.
They're number 4. The Chiefs are number 4. Again, represent the devil represented by JoJo Siwa right now. I still don't really know what she is or does. I just know she sings.
What she is.
But I'm using her as a placement for the devil right now because the devil is the Chiefs. There's no one you cannot realistically. Again, at the beginning of the season, when we made the AFC preview thing, there was a bunch of people in the comments being like, oh man, you got to be rooting for football history. You got to be rooting for the three-peat, first time ever, all that kind of stuff. No, you don't. I don't want the Chiefs to have another record on their resume. I don't like the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I don't like watching their games because, again, they're a boring offense. Their defense gets worse every week, and then they win on some bullshit at the end of the game we can argue about for 10 hours. So, no, I don't want to see this Chiefs team three-peat. Maybe if it was a Chiefs team that looked like the Chiefs team of 2 years ago, then maybe it'd be like, they're fun, they're interesting, they're doing the trick plays and all that kind of stuff. But this Chiefs team, if you're not a Chiefs fan, what possibly could have you being like, I specifically want this version, this
Taylor
Chiefs team to
Swift.
three-peat. But again, I don't feel like football fans are like, oh my God, Taylor Swift. Like their girlfriends and wives and like people online who are Taylor Swift fans are like,
Yeah.
oh my
So
God, Taylor Swift.
everybody that's not a true football fan.
Well,
Right. And so that makes America want this team to win.
yeah, I think 3 Super Bowls for Mahomes is enough. I don't want to see him win a 4th, especially
I don't
the
want him
4th.
to get close to 7.
Yeah, I don't. Again, with how many teams there are in front of them that either have 1 or 0 Super Bowls, and this is like their Super Bowl window, the Chiefs should be the one that, unless you're a Chiefs fan, no one is rooting for. Now, Casino, your number, what? We're on number 3. Your number 3 team, Casino, is, I mean, what started this whole travesty? Your number 3 seed, or your number 3 pick right now is
Yeah, the
the
Eagles,
Philadelphia
top 3,
Eagles.
an outstanding fucking team. They're great.
Why don't you just have him as 32nd in the league? Why don't you just have him as 32nd in the league?
Yeah. That's I knew that's what you I love it. That's great. That's what I kept saying to him. Like, you're acting like all I'm saying is they're 32nd in the league. They're not. They're a phenomenal fucking team. Again, they started hitting their stride both when the Bills and the Lions started hitting their strides and going unbeaten. So how can and I had them above the Eagles that whole time because the Eagles weren't even in our top 10, both of us. The Eagles were not in the top 10. And how can I put them above either one of those teams that are not faulting? That's my only knock. If you want to do the three-way fucking tie thing, I'll put all three of them in the fucking three-way tie.
I mean, that was an option.
No, it's not an option because the power rankings are supposed to be 1 through 10. But if you want to play it like that, sure. All three of them are my number ones. Okay? Fuck it.
You have them. I see them as number 3 right now.
Yes, because they are number 3.
My number 3 team, Casino. I mean, I'll probably agree with you. My number 3 team is I have the Detroit Lions as my number 3. Now, again, Casino views these power
You have the Lions as 3?
Yes. Yes.
Fuck you.
I have the Lions as the number 3 team in my power rankings. Again, I go week by week. Casino views the power rankings differently. I go week by week. This week, they were the dumbest call in NFL history away from going into OT with a 4-7 at the time Chicago Bears team at home. So they were 3 points away from giving, with almost losing to the Bears on Thanksgiving. Also, Caleb Williams, 20 for 39, 256, 3 touchdowns, and he was only sacked. He was sacked 5 times. So with him being sacked 5 times, no turnovers by this Lions defense, the Lions are getting hurt. They're losing players every week. I mean, on Thanksgiving, you felt bad for how many of their players were going off the field with injuries. I am only putting them here because I think injuries are slightly starting to catch up to this Lions team. And again, we go week by week. Now, again, I will say
you go week by week.
Yes, I go week by week. I will say it's a short week. It's Thanksgiving. It's divisional opponent. So that's what I'm using to kind of bolster it's panic mode in Detroit. I don't think it's panic mode in Detroit, but
not
I
even
do
close.
think
They're one fucking lost team.
Yeah,
part of my French. I've been cursing a lot.
But also, again, I think the main difference between Eagles and Lions right now is the division they play in, because Eagles have nobody on their tail in their division. Commanders they beat, and they don't have enough games to catch up to them. Right,
and that's why the Lions. That's why the Lions should be above the Eagles, is because the Lions have to play 2 elite teams out of that division, and then the Bears being a divisional opponent, like 2 elite teams, they have to play twice. And they're handling business.
Yeah, but also they haven't handled that business yet. I go week by week, Casino. I don't look in the future. But also, what I'm saying is the Eagles, the worst case scenario for the Eagles is they're the number 2 seed in the NFC. The worst case for the Lions is they fall to the 5 seed and don't have a home playoff game the entire playoffs. That is still possible.
And that's totally fine.
Well,
I think that they would still be just fine.
Yeah. Again, Lions, number 3, good time. But now, Casino, your number 2 pick is your number 2 pick. Oh my God, Casino, we're in space. We've reached our destination. We're cracking the barrier. Your Bills, they're cracking the atmosphere. You have them at number 2. Talk about the Bills at number 2.
I love what Josh Allen's doing. Again, I have him right there with Saquon Barkley in a coin flip for me for MVP, but it's obviously going to go to him because he's a quarterback, as long as his play stays consistent for the remainder of the season. I can't wait until the Bills-Lions game, man. I can't. This is going to be such a good game. I have the Bills there. I like what this team's been doing. Cook has been surprising me. I think he's been surprising everybody. He looks like a much more competent running back this season. Also, Amari Cooper going, that just adds another weapon. And we've talked about that when he got traded over there. And I just like the will of this team. You're talking about Baker Mayfield doing everything he can to get his team to win. Josh Allen is doing the same thing, but on a better team, which makes
I
a
agree.
team scary.
That's true. You know what? I agree so much, Casino. They're also my number 2 team. So, um, your mine is I just found a planet. So we're going to different planets, Casino. You're breaking the atmosphere. I just found my planet. So my planet, we both have the Bills at number 2. In total defense, the Bills are 11th in the league. In total offense, the Bills are 10th in the league. So they have a top 10 offense, a top 11 defense. Josh Allen, again, at the beginning of the season, I thought this was going to be a down year for the Bills. Josh Allen instead decided he was going to put the team on his back, much like you said, much like Baker Mayfield, on a better team. He's a better player than Baker Mayfield, and he's showing it by being pretty much everybody's consensus number 1 or number 2 pick to be NFL MVP this year, especially when you look at the season Saquon's having, the season Lamar's having. For Josh Allen to be number 1 is really impressive. And then Casino, you're number 1. Up, you landed on the planet. Too bad the planet was unstable and it exploded. I'm so sorry, Casino. Your number 1 pick is the Detroit Lions.
Don't laugh, honey. Oh yeah. Again, what else you want me to talk about, man? Jared Goff looks just dynamite. Yeah, he had that one. He had that bad game, but guess what? They still found a way to win that game. And then he came out right after that, the game after, and showed why that was just a fluke. This team's legit. Yes, they keep getting injured, but that's something that's more impressive. Is they keep getting injuries and injuries and injuries, but they just keep next man up, next man up, next man up. That's impressive. That's super impressive.
Yeah.
It says say they lose to the Bills, coming up. Yeah, they'll knock down. They'll definitely knock down. Same with the Bills. That's a realistic thing. That's gonna probably happen for either one of these teams. But right now, I got to wait till that game till that happens, and maybe the injuries will show up against the Bills, and the Bills are able to take advantage of that. And then it's probably going to be a panic time because it'd be like, oh, can the Lions take care of one of those top tier? I mean, if it's a close game, I think we're safe and they're fine. If the Bills go in and do that, take care of them. But like if they get blown out by the Bills, then I will take everything that you're saying about the injuries being an issue much more to heart.
Yeah. And as far as my thing goes, Casino, I've landed on my planet and it's paradise. It's paradise.
It's Eden.
Oh, wait a second. Look to the sky. What is that, Casino? What's in the sky? Oh, it's a beautiful eagle because the Eagles are the number 1 team in the league. Right now, after this week, they have the best win, beat the best opponent, held them to 12 points.
Beat the best opponent that has 5 losses on the season.
I mean, hey,
beat the Bills, beat the Bills, beat the Lions, beat the Chiefs, then we can talk.
Everybody was picking Commanders to beat him. Everybody was picking Ravens to beat him.
I didn't.
And then
no.
Sure enough.
No, you picked the Ravens to win. I picked the Eagles to win.
But I did it as a reverse jinx, perfectly executed.
Bullshit. Pull that up. My daughter's laughing at you right now. She knows she was here. She heard that.
I think the Eagles finished the season. I think they beat every team. I think the Steelers are the only.
I think that both the Lions and the Bills will win every game except for the game that they play each other. One of them's going to lose. That's how that works.
Well, also Lions play Vikings, Packers.
And I think the Lions will take care of both the Vikings and the Packers. I do.
All right. Well, that was both Casino and my power rankings. This was, I mean, we still have one more segment, but we've almost gone 2 hours. I think we'll save.
What was the other segment?
Definitely, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, fuck. And I even wrote all that stuff down.
We'll save that till Thursday. So we'll save that till Thursday because we don't have that much stuff on Thursday.
Well, also, I got one fun thing for you.
Go ahead.
Finish what you're going to say, and then I'll close out with a question for you.
Well, on Thursday, I also want to have a real discussion about legitimate NFL MVP discussion because we put that discussion on our TikTok, which go follow us, the Only Sports Podcast, but on TikTok. But we got a lot of people talking about, oh, what about Lamar Jackson? What about Jared Goff? What about, and then there was a bunch of other names. So I think we should have a real discussion about what MVP means and who is legit.
I agree.
MVP.
That's a good call. I mean, because even you brought it up, even Jalen Hurts, he's got the same
That's
kind of
true.
numbers. So
Also, to put a button on this was the Only Sports Podcast Power Rankings Casino,
yeah.
week 14.
Yeah.
14.
And before I ask BJ the question, please like, please subscribe, please tell your friends about us. If you want us to go big and you want to hear more of our bullshitting, please help us out.
Also, November by far on all platforms, our best month of we've ever had. Most of our most popular, most commented, most likes videos on all platforms was the best month for every single one of them. So
yeah,
thank you to everybody listening, but just continue to listen, like Casino was saying. So now your final question.
got a good one for you. So with the holidays in spirit, which family would you like to spend the holidays with a little bit out of all of the ones that I could think of, sports families coming to NFL? Would you like to have a Harbaugh family? Would you like to go and hang out with the Gronkowskis, the Mannings, the Watts,
Oh,
the Bosas?
This is a good question.
Yeah.
And
any of the multi-family NFL families that you could think of. What do you think? Who do you got?
You know what? This is a perfect question for a segment we haven't done yet, but it is our get to know the boys, get to know the daddies, whichever one you would prefer. They get to know us. So I think we should end each show with a personal question like this, Casino, for our get to know the boys segment. But I think I'm still going Manning family.
God, that would be so boring.
But again,
Peyton so boring.
Funny. You can make fun of Eli. You can joke around with Archie. There's Cooper Manning over there as well. I think I would go Mannings. Also, just for the football stories. Again, you can get early 2000s, you can get late 2000s, you can get 70 stories from Archie Manning. I just think the vast chasm of stories you could get. What's it like playing in New York?
And this is not me saying this because I'm a Patriot fan. I think the Gronkowskis would be fun just because I grew up with I have my two brothers and my dad acts like a just another adult child as well. And I would think that would be really funny to kind of compare and contrast how their family holidays would be from what my family holidays were, which are always fun and silly. Because of my brothers. I mean, sometimes it's always turned into wrestling matches and stuff like that, which I can see being a Gronkowski family.
That's true.
Kind of get up.
No,
so
that's right.
That would be my pick.
Right
you know what? I thought the Mannings would be boring, but you got a good point there. You got a good point.
It would be much more chill, but also I feel like those are guys you just sit on the porch, you have a beer or a cocktail, and then you just ask them.
I mean, you had me when you said make fun of Eli. So with that,
Eagles fan.
Yeah.
This has been the Only Sports Podcast. Maybe our best episode ever. Definitely our longest. But yeah, I'm Casino. That's Will over there. We'll see you with a special
what
Thursday. I'm Will. That's Casino over there.
You said I'm Casino. That's Will over there.
Oh, I mean, that's what it feels like sometimes. But we'll be back on Thursday with a special Thursday episode that we cannot wait for you guys to see. So join us on Thursday. Again, follow us on our TikTok to see exclusive clips. We don't post any clips you can get anywhere else but TikTok. So exclusive things and discussions on TikTok. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. It's all there. This has been the Only Sports Podcast. Adios.